Welcome to your safe space, the podcast your partner, friends, parents, whoever thinks it's dirty. Don't have time to read books? Want to understand all the jokes in the TikToks? We got you, fam. We're the Spice Traders, and we deal in spicy books. I'm Katie, and I need it to make sense.
I'm Liz, and I'm hypercritical.
Before we get to today's episode, we want to encourage you to check out our Patreon, where we publish extra episodes every other week, as well as ad-free versions of our regular feed episodes. Also, any series we read past the first book, all that coverage is Patreon only, so think series like ACOTAR, Fourth Wing, Guild. Anyway, we really appreciate the support and encouragement to continue doing something we love and sharing it with you.
Thanks in advance for checking that out. As always, we start this episode with 3 things. First is a generic trigger warning. You can find specific triggers for this book in our show notes, so please check those out. We also use foul language and talk a lot about sex. If you have sensitivity to either of those things, our podcast probably isn't for you.
Second, our episodes talk about books, the whole book, nothing but the book, so help me goddess. If you don't want something spoiled, don't listen to this episode.
And finally, we acknowledge that a good book can hit you at the wrong time. Our views discussed in our episodes are our opinion, and we don't want to diminish the work or the talents of the authors in our community. That said, we have some notes. So, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about Bride by Hazelwood. This is part 2 of 2, and so if you didn't read the book or, listen to part 1, you're going to be confused. This part's going to cover chapters 16 and onward, and then at the end of our coverage of the book, we will do our ratings. So, let's jump into it. And we pick up right after, the morning after Misery scratched Lo to sleep, which sounds unpleasant, but it wasn't. It reminded me a lot of when my mom used to scratch my back when I was a kid.
Yeah. It sounds nice.
It was nice. It was very sweet. They slept in the closet. I don't know why. It's fine.
I will never accept the closet of it all.
So Lo isn't immediately there, but he does come back pretty soon thereafter, sweaty and shirtless from a run with one of his lieutenants. And this guy, actually, I'm not sure if this is a lieutenant or not. It's Cohen.
I read it as Cone, and then I thought maybe it was Cohen, but it also my brain wants to say Korea. So,
yeah. Also,
Cone.
I totally forgot that they're in the Emory visit. I thought they were back home. I am not oriented to where we are in this book at all.
I wasn't sure either, because I was like, wait a minute, why is Cone there? Because they're still at Emory's house after getting it on the plane.
Right. I mean, so Cohen, if you guys remember, is the leader of the Pacific Northwest pack. And the reason that he's there with them at Emory's place is because he and Emory are related. Anyway, so they went for a run. That's great. But then Cohen fucks off, and Lo kind of joins Misery in the bathroom, and she's in the bathtub. And they just get into a nice scene. They don't go all the way again, but they do fool around, and that's enough for me, honestly.
The scene was great. It's really sweet. I like the lingering touches and then the escalation of it.
Yeah, and they're also doing that thing that I really like where they're having intimate touch, but then they're also just talking about I was going to say germane, that's not the right word, but just pedestrian things. He's talking about the plan for the night,
yeah.
She's wondering about what color his fur is when he shifts. It's just it feels realistic when they do that.
Yeah, and it's a good way to deliver information while still giving me something that I'm interested in, like them fooling around.
Right, exactly. So not long after they start to head home, they really only came there for one thing. On the surface, it was to make peace with Emory, but really they planted that surveillance software from the end of part 1. And Misery is thinking about what it took to plant that surveillance technology, and that is when she fed not just from Lo for the first time, but from a person for the first time. That all the other times in her entire life before, she's been eating from blood bags.
And it's not a thing for vampires in this world to feed from living people at all.
Which I thought was interesting. No?
Yeah. I thought that was interesting too, because we'll get into the mates with the wares, but vampires from the start don't have like monogamous relationships, and so there isn't really like a mate bond, so to speak, because that I would associate with like feeding from that kind of like cyclical feeding that we get in other vampire books. But I did think it was weird that, I mean, she kind of alludes to it, I think, of like sometimes it happens during sex, but it's not like, it's not a primary source of food. I thought it was strange. The vampires in this book honestly don't need to be vampires. Like, she could be anything.
Right. Yeah, that's why it struck me as a little odd. I don't think I've ever read a vampire book where it's like, because it's described like you were saying, like it's taboo, right? Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's like it's frowned upon by vampire society to like feed from a live human. I've never encountered a vampire book like that, and I kind of like it in this context because it makes like what they did and like how she felt about it like forbidden in some ways.
Yeah. I didn't mind it, but it's an odd choice to write a book about vampires and make them not feed.
Yeah. And not have superpowers.
They have nothing but sharp teeth and pointy ears.
Yeah,
like they're
slow. Just like a bunch of wet noodles.
They are a bunch of wet noodles. Like, no, that's why they're threatened by the werewolves. Not because like they're dying out, but because they're basically humans with pointy teeth. Yeah,
that's really the thing. Anyway, Misery is feeling some type of way about it, and so as soon as they get home, she calls her brother Owen. Remember, Owen is her twin brother. He's still living large in vampire society. He's like their father's heir or whatever. And she's like, this thing happened. What do? And he's like, look, if you keep doing that, you will you will catch feelings. Not only will you catch feelings, you'll develop a deep bond. And this is when we get a little bit more information about why it was discouraged, because you form those attachments. It's discouraged in vampire society because they should be out reproducing, not like supporting monogamy, right? Like they should be fucking with everybody trying to see if they can get literally anybody pregnant.
Yeah, which is fine, I guess, but
yeah,
so odd.
And, like, it's so strange. It's especially strange in the context of like, this is the only way for vampires to reproduce is through like a natural birth without like turning someone into a vampire. It's a very weird interpretation of vampires, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And just like, okay, they're out fucking everyone to make babies, but couldn't you argue that if you have a deep bond with someone, you could just like fuck them a lot and make babies?
Yeah, right? Like,
it's like a biological thing. Like, you gotta find the fertile one. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. So Owen ends the conversation by saying, don't do it. Of course, Misery doesn't really take that into advisement, but we're not quite there yet.
She's like, sure, Jen.
Sure, Jen. The next thing that happens is that Anna, Lo's baby sister, ostensibly, gets violently ill. And it's the first time that she's ever shown like fully human symptoms, because werechildren just like don't get sick like this. And she's described, I kind of inferred it to be like a bad flu, because she's got like fever, but she's also like throwing up, lethargic, like all of those things.
Yeah, it read just like a flu to me too. A bad one, but a flu. Mm-hmm.
And so this happens immediately after they get back from the visit with Emery, and like Lo is panicking and they don't know what to do, and they don't understand like human medicine because, like I said, they don't need it. And so Misery steps in and is like, look, I have this stuff. It's magical. It's called Dayquil. Like, we should use that.
Tamiflu. Maybe an antibiotic.
Right. But they give her this and Anna recovers, which is great. Kind of crisis avoided.
I was gonna say, it was such like a non-event. I thought this was going to be so much more serious. And really, I think it serves to just make people trust Misery more and that she cares about Anna. But I think that was already established when she saved her from being literally kidnapped.
Right. Like, we already know that she's a liability.
Right.
What this does serve is to give Misery and Lo like a medium for them to develop closer emotional like intimacy, because Lo is a wreck. Like, he is very obviously concerned that Anna is going to die, and he just doesn't know what to do with that information, and he doesn't know how to act because he can't actually do anything to help her. And so one night, Misery and Lo are staying up while Anna is sick, and Lo kneels in Misery's lap and has his face just like buried against her and is devastated and scared in a way that he can't like carry alone. And Misery gets to be there for him, right? And this is one of the first times that they've, especially after the bite, that they are really truly acting like a partnership.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see. I do like in the back half of this book seeing their relationship actually grow and seeing their moments like just together, not doing political things.
Right, exactly. So speaking of Anna, in kind of the between times, like even before they went to go see Emery, and then also while Anna's kind of convalescing, there's like these interspersed like investigation kind of montages with Misery kind of working with the computer Ken that Lo has to hack into systems and try to back their way into finding out who Anna's father could be. And they finally do get kind of a hit here. They've been cross-referencing like even vampire records and human records with werewolf records, and they've come to a name, which is Thomas Jalakis. And he's a man who appeared in Serena's interview records for a financial crime story, and who also turns out to have had a brief relationship with Lo's mother years ago. He looks remarkably like Anna. They have the same dimples, the same wide mouth, the same hair color, and the resemblance is undeniable that Lo is like, this is the guy.
There he is. That's Daddy.
Yeah, the problem is Thomas has died in what is framed as a car accident. But given everything else that's going on, that's not really something that the crew believes, especially because this happened like recently.
Yeah, very suspicious.
Very suspicious. But I also really liked how there was kind of this whodunit through line here.
Yeah, I liked that too, especially because, I mean, you confirmed this in part one, but my assumption about Serena and Anna's connection was not accurate, but I liked getting exactly that whodunit. Like, why does it matter? Why is Serena looking for Anna? And then why is this guy mysteriously dead?
Right. And I liked that it was even more personal than I was starting to suspect. I was like, okay, well, like maybe Serena's doing a story on it. Cool. She's a journalist, right? Like, are we silencing the media? Like, why is this one the thing that you're deciding to like do that in? But I think we get a really satisfying answer to that.
And I didn't see that coming. So even with my assumption that like they were somehow related, they're not related in the way I thought they were. And that was a fun surprise.
Right. Yeah. So in order to learn more information about this, they decide to get some time with Governor Davenport. You'll remember from like the very beginning of part one, Governor Davenport is the like exiting mayor, and the humans have, essentially elected this new woman to come in who's much more open to peace and like kind of shaking up how the status quo has been. Governor Davenport was very much a creature of Misery's father, and it turns out he worked very closely with this Thomas guy. So Lo secures them a dinner resi at the governor's house.
He gets them this plan under the guise of like bringing him a gift for some reason that was not clear to me, honestly. But there's this really cute, irrelevant but cute montage of Lo and Misery like looking for a gift for someone that neither of them particularly like, and it's just a cover story anyway, and I really enjoyed that scene.
I did too. I also found it relatable because like hostess gifts are like one of those things that I love to give, but I hate figuring out what it is.
Because it's hard.
Because it's always a process. It's hard.
Yeah. Because you want it to be like thoughtful, but not too much. And you don't want it to be like overbearing in a way that then makes the hostess uncomfortable, but you also don't want it to be a nothing burger. It's uncomfy.
Yeah, I think it's especially hard for people that I don't particularly know. Like I
That's
used
the
to have a
one.
friend that lived nearby, and every time I would get her the same hostess gift, which was a bottle of champagne, which was her favorite thing. It's so easy.
Easy.
That's not hard.
Yeah.
But like,
No, bottle of wine is like my go-to.
yeah, but like when you have a new neighbor and they invite you over, or like you've met a new couple friend or whatever, and you're like, I know negative amounts of information about these people.
Like, I don't know if you drink at all, because like alcohol is my go-to because it's the easiest one. But like, what if you don't drink, or what if you don't like wine? Like, I'm not gonna bring you an assortment of booze. Like, that's weird.
Right. And I
You're not
could
gonna
bring
bring
you like
apple juice.
soap or candles, but I don't know like what you like to smell.
Exactly. And I also don't want to bring you soap because then I think about it like, do you think I think you're stinky?
Yeah, you need to bathe. Use this.
It's just awkward.
Anyway, back to the dinner. Davenport
digress.
is drunk and insufferable as usual, but he does confirm that Thomas died in an accident. But then he like doubles down on being an asshole by making like a deeply misogynistic comment about Lo's mother. And that prompts Lo to like slam him against the wall. And then we start getting a little bit more information. Governor Davenport says that Thomas was killed to cover up financial crimes that he was investigating. And Lo is just like, thank you very much. That's all we needed. And they leave.
Governor Davenport is such a strange character in this whole book, but I did like seeing Lo actually be alpha. Like, we haven't seen him be aggressive at all in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was satisfying to get like this. No, I can kill you.
Right. Like, this is a courtesy that you're alive.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that.
So on the drive back, Lo floats the possibility to Misery that Serena might have known about Anna from another source and was just using that as leverage against Thomas for information on the financial crimes that he was committing. And then she deliberately disappeared to protect herself. Misery considers this. She considers the context of their last fight, and she also thinks about Serena's habit of dropping off the radar. Not necessarily for, like, disappearing. She would always come back every once in a while, but she wonders if these were, like, test runs for her to eventually go into permanent hiding. She also then thinks about the fucking cat that Serena got 3 days before she disappeared, and she can't help but feel like that was either left behind as a deliberate signal or indicates that Serena didn't disappear by herself. Misery can't fully accept Lo's hypothesis based on that information. She can't entirely deny it either. She just feels like it's not quite the right fit.
And it is and it isn't, because she's disappearing on purpose, right? But this one isn't on purpose. But I still didn't make the connection until I was told as to why she disappears about once a month.
I know. We get told that at least twice, and it didn't occur to me. Like, I didn't clock it at all.
No, it was really well done because she's an investigative journalist. It makes sense that she would take a weekend here or there to like go investigate.
Right. I'm like, that's just, you're traveling for work. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So a couple days later, they meet Owen at a field near the vampire-human border. And he doesn't come alone. He brings Gabby, who's the were collateral. And remember, Gabby is positioned as being Lo's mate. So Misery spends the entire interaction like bracing herself for the moment when Lo is going to be like reunited with his mate. And that's going to like really hurt. Except that doesn't happen. And like by now, anybody with eyes and two brain cells to rub together can understand why. But Misery doesn't really understand why, because Lo doesn't like run for Gabby and embrace her. He stands staunchly next to Misery the whole time. And he goes further. He holds her hand.
And he barely even knows anything about Gabby. Like, he doesn't know. He misquotes what Gabby's going to school for, which is something you would know about your mate, even if you weren't together. Right. Like, he barely notices Gabby. Like, she wasn't even supposed to be in this meeting. The meeting wasn't about them at all. And he's like, how are you doing? She's like, good. He's like, all right, cool. Let me know if that changes. Toodles.
Yeah,
so
bye.
romantic.
He's checking in as like she's a member of his pack, and that's it.
Yeah, that he's maybe met a couple times.
Right. They're not even particularly close.
No.
And it's interesting, too, because the entire meeting is to talk about kind of where they're landing with this information, because they've decided to bring Owen into the fold on the information because they think that he can get more information for the vampires, help them out in some way, that kind of thing. So they're talking about like other stuff, right? And Lo just could not be bothered with Gabby. And
No,
so
not
on
at
the way
all.
home, it's here that Misery is finally like, okay, Gabby's clearly not his mate. And she finally lets herself consider whether she's his mate instead.
She does get to that a lot faster than I thought she would. I mean, it's so painfully obvious, but I'm glad that she gets to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad that she didn't spend the rest of the book still second guessing. Even when what's about to happen happens, she's like, okay, he's just a dick.
Yeah, like what I think is still probably true. He's just an asshole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, because it comes up later, part of that conversation is that Owen wants to take over their dad's chancellor's seat and basically like take over
that's right.
control. Which surprised me because he's been framed as this dumbass this whole time, but he's actually pretty shrewd and like knows what he's doing and cares about people.
Yeah, I mean, we should be clear too, because like he is his father's heir, but he wants to do a coup about it.
He wants it now and he wants to do it differently.
Right. Because he thinks his father's an idiot, which like agree.
Yeah, his father's the worst.
So they continue on and they don't go home immediately because since they're this close to the human territory, they decide to check out Misery's old apartment to see if they can find any other clues about where Serena might have gone. But also, Lo wants to see where she used to live. And like this is kind of positioned as like he just wants to know all of the things about her.
But know you.
Really, it's just a setup to get them alone in a place that smells like misery that drives Lo nuts.
He can't handle it.
So Lo is having a reaction to this place being completely like flooded with her scent, and they end up finally consummating their relationship against the wall. Just a wall. I don't even know what wall it is, and there's a couple of things about the scene that like don't really work for me. One of them is the fact that like Lo's personality just turns into kind of like a teddy bear frat boy thing. Like he's trying to resist fucking her and he just says, I can't just fuck you against this wall. And I'm like, says who?
Also, my guy, she doesn't have a bed, so I don't know what the options really are.
And you're fully like able to change the position if you wanted to.
There's a couch. There were a few things I didn't like about this too. Mostly, I'm not sure if it's here or a previous scene, but it doesn't really matter. They have this like, I think it's here. Before they get into it, they have this too long of a conversation about condoms and why they don't need them, which honestly didn't make any sense to me at all. Because Lo's like, we don't need condoms because we can't procreate, even though we know that is a thing, but also like we're never gonna have sex again because this was a mistake. It just doesn't. It went on for so long. Also, the other thing that I have to bring up here is, again, I don't reference this scene earlier, but it's relevant later. She learns about his knot, which is not how I pictured it. Okay, so
wait, how did you picture it?
I can't handle it. Okay, so.
You're blushing.
Gentle reader. I know. Okay, so gentle reader, you've probably heard about knotting. We haven't covered any books with knotting yet on this book. Before this book. I don't know how I pictured it, but it's not what it was explained to be in this book. And it is solely because of one word that Ali Hazelwood uses. It's like, okay, and maybe I'm wrong, but she uses the word inflates, and so that forced me to picture a fucking pool ring around the bottom of his dick. So I'm just picturing this ring that inflates, and I'm like, because of the word inflate, and I couldn't handle it for the whole rest of the book.
Yikes. Yeah, no, I get it. I also didn't love the word inflate.
Inflate is a terrible word.
Technically, it could have been like swell.
Swell would be better.
Like, swell would be better.
Yeah. And inflate it gives me the like blowing up a balloon. I'm sure blowing in the mic wasn't super nice to hear. But I guess I pictured it because it's called a knot. So I guess before this, I pictured it like as like a little nubbin and not like a ring. Is it a ring?
Okay. I picture it as a nubbin.
That's
Is it
what I
described as a ring
pictured
in this
too.
book? Because I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't think it's clearly described.
Okay. Because I always pictured it as like kind of like
Like a hook.
just this like under bulge thing that kind of just fills the space.
Yeah. And then I don't think it's clearly described. That's probably how it's described, but inflate just made me think of a pool floaty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way it's described later of like the purpose of it is so like he can't withdraw, right? But that it's like inflates on the inside, so it's like a seal. And then I pictured like a gasket, which also makes it a ring, and I just couldn't get past it. And I'm very sorry.
Not ideal, pardon the language. But I will say that like it is a good scene. Like besides all of the stuff that we just complained about, like it's hot.
Yeah. And he doesn't use his knot, right? Like he pulls out before that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's just a thing later. But no, it's great. I wasn't mad about it. I was just taken aback by my own mental imagery, and I had to share it with everybody else.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I know that our listeners appreciate it too.
I hope so.
Something they can't unhear.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Don't yell at me in the comments. Or do. I don't care. I like comments.
Or do, whatever. Never read the comments. Yeah, so then like they're kind of in this afterglow, but then like Lo is acting weird immediately. And so Misery uses this as her golden opportunity to like accuse him of like Gabby not being his mate. And then she goes further and is like, is it me? Am I your mate? And then Lo just does the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like he does the false like miscommunication trope thing where he's like, you have the wrong impression of what's going on here. Like you shouldn't talk about things like mate that you can't understand because you're not a werewolf. And I'm like, ugh, bruh.
Rude.
Bruh.
He's fucking
then,
rude.
like, not only does he say all of that, but then he just leaves.
Well, and he gets meaner before he leaves too. He basically is like, you like the idea of a mate because you've been abandoned your whole life and no one's ever loved you, so that's why you want this from me, but you're wrong. Like, he's so mean. And then he's just like, you can't stay with me anymore. We'll find someone else for you. I gotta go. Bye.
Okay, the other thing he says, speaking of him getting meaner, is he's like, we should stop seeing each other. I'm like, you're married.
Okay, that's the thing where he's like, well, you can't. You're going to have to just stay somewhere else. I'll find somewhere to put you, essentially. What?
Okay, thanks. Like, what the fuck? It was so weird. It was such a choice. Like, it was definitely a vehicle to, like, add more tension and, like, put her on the back foot for what happens next. But even as he's doing this, like, she's in denial in her head. She's like, he doesn't mean this. He's just, like, being a jerk, and I don't know why, but that's like he's lying right now.
I would have liked it better if she had, because he gets a phone call, which he uses as an excuse to leave. I would have liked it better if she like asked the question, "Am I your mate?" and then he gets a phone call and leaves suddenly without like gaslighting her.
I know, because this makes it very intentional, and I just don't believe that his character would leave her alone like that.
No, not with how protective he is. And especially now that, like, we do get confirmation later, like we thought in part 1, that when that mate bond happens, like in all the other books, they kind of can't let their mate out of their sight. So the fact that he can, like, fuck her and just bounce doesn't make sense to me.
No, not at all. So, anyway, he leaves, and he has one of his other guys, Mick, pick her up, and Mick has been in the story before. We haven't named him yet, but he's like kind of an older werewolf, like not general, lieutenant is the word I'm looking for. He's like a lieutenant in Lo's kind of pack, but importantly, he used to work for the old Alpha, the one that Lo challenged and like eventually defeated. But he's like presented as trustworthy, and so he picks her up, and in the car, like, they're heading back to the werewolf territory, but they don't get very far when Mick like literally injects something into Misery's neck.
Ugh.
I know. This felt I felt the like the j'accuse with this one because I did not see this one coming either.
No, because from the whenever Misery first gets to the like Were compound, Mick is the only one who's immediately nice to her. So
Right.
the betrayal is really well done because I thought Mick was trustworthy.
I did too. And like I thought, because you know, he had that other lieutenant in part 1 who was like kind of a betrayal. I thought maybe Computer Ken would also be a betrayer. But
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming from Mick. Mick felt very much like Arnsgard in the Plated Prisoner series.
Exactly. He's a Digby.
He's a Digby.
If
yeah.
Digby were a fucking traitor.
Right. So this guy makes a fucking traitor, and like this thing that he injected into Misery makes her pass out. And when she wakes up again, she's in what's described as an attic, which to me, like, and I'm going to be fully honest, listener, like maybe I wasn't reading super closely, but the impression that I have is like, this is the Home Alone or like Christmas Vacation, like house attic.
That's exactly what I was picturing. And maybe we didn't read it closely enough, but I'm with you. The fact that they end up where they actually are doesn't make any sense.
I know. But besides being in an attic, she's not alone. Serena's there too.
Which was shocking to me.
Yeah, Gosh, I still have a lot of questions about where we land, but like I did not see Misery being taken and then held in the same place as Serena. But it turns out like
it just seems like
Serena's
a bad idea on the captor part to put them together.
It super is. But like the other thing that's super weird about this is like Serena's been in this attic for months.
Like 3
ever
months
since she
or something.
disappeared.
Yeah. Maybe 6 months. I don't know. A long time.
It's a long time. It feels like the equivalent of being in solitary confinement to me.
Yes. Yeah, because she has nothing to do. There's like books, but she basically says like I haven't been out of here since I was put in here.
Right. They've just passed me like food through the door, and like I've been carving tally marks into the bookshelf based on like how long I think I've been here. But like
Yeah.
there's no windows or anything in this room, so I don't know how she's telling time. Maybe just by the meals.
Maybe just by the meals. It sounds horrendous. She's honestly fine for being in isolation for 6 months, 3 months, whatever.
Yeah, mentally very sound and doesn't have like any physical atrophy either. Just very resilient.
Yeah, she's fine.
So she doesn't know where they are, but she does know that they're high up and that the guards are werewolves and they won't come inside. So immediately I was like, okay, Emery / like the old Alpha faction, right?
Yeah, that made sense to me. It's the loyalists or whatever they're called.
So they catch up on what's been going on. Misery tells Serena that she's been kind of following her trail, and she found the name L.E. Moreland, and so she's kind of like filled her in on the fact that she's now married to an alpha named Lo Moreland, and that she knows about Anna and all of this stuff. Serena says that's great because she knew that Misery would come looking, and she purposefully left that as a signal. So they hatch a plan, like a really quick plan to escape, despite the fact that they haven't really talked about like why Serena has left those breadcrumbs.
Yeah, this is where the Scooby-Doo of it all starts.
Yeah, because they're like, okay, great, good catch up. We can catch up later. Like, let's get out of here. And so they lure one of the guards like into the room, claiming that Misery is dying. And so then Serena like jumps him, and then Misery attempts to put a thrall on him, like she did for that other guy the other werewolf who tried to kidnap Anna. Anna. What's her name? So she partially is able to thrall this guard, but that it's not completely worked. So Serena has to go like full torture chamber and start snapping his fingers, like breaking them in order to get him to cooperate.
Yeah, that was wild. I don't really know why she even needed Misery to be part of this.
Yeah, she seems like she could handle it just fine.
Yeah.
So they get the guard to go further into the room and they end up locking him in there. Poor guy has a handful of broken fingers.
Yeah, good luck. Sorry, Bob.
So they're out in the hallway, right? And they're immediately in a recognizable building to Misery. And she realizes that they are in the vampire headquarters. That skyscraper that's like on the edge of human territory. Which is weird because they were described as being in like a wooden attic.
Yeah, and being kept by werewolves.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I don't think we ever really get to explain.
No.
So they're like, okay, weird. We still have to leave. But before they can get to the exit, Vanya steps out and like is going to detain them. And remember, Vanya is Misery's dad's like right-hand vampire woman person.
Yeah, she's terrible. I'm glad she's dead. I think she's dead. Who knows?
Yeah, a lot of people die. I don't really keep close track.
No
but
one
we'll
does.
Yeah. So Vanya takes them to Misery's father's office, and he does like the quintessential like evil mastermind like long monologue speech, because that's just how he operates and that's how he's set up in this book. But it's super annoying, and even in Misery's internal monologue, she's like, "Here we go."
He's insufferable.
So we get some answers. We learned that Governor Davenport has been under his thrall for decades, and that's how he's been able to keep the Human-Vampire Alliance stable, which is just through manipulation and planting seeds of discord between humans and werewolves wherever it seemed convenient. He has known about Anna for years through Davenport because Davenport knew Thomas. What we also learn is that Serena is like Anna, too. Not her sister, but just half were, half human. And Misery's father knew about that. And so he specifically planted Serena with Misery as a friend, but also to monitor her. Because they weren't really sure. He doesn't know, since there's only 2 instances of this, and we talked about that at length in part 1. Why now? Why just 2? I don't know. I wish I could tell you. But they don't know if like these human-were hybrids are like going to do anything, right? Like they don't even know how long they're going to live, really.
Yeah, or if they have any power at all.
Right. And so we learned that the car accident that Thomas, Anna's dad, was in was not an accident. It was orchestrated by Misery's father through the governor directly, through this thrall connection that he's had with them. We also learned that he tried to have Misery killed on at least one occasion, and the plan there was he wanted to send Lo into so much grief that he could grab Anna himself.
Thereby confirming that they are mates, and Daddy knew that. Somehow?
Yes, exactly.
Why does Daddy know that?
Well, I think Daddy knows that because of Mick, right? Because Mick is acting under...
Oh, yeah.
Or for him, right?
Yeah. And everyone can see it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you have eyes, you can see it. Except for Misery.
This whole explanation honestly lost me, and I didn't really care, but it was a lot.
Yeah, and so like one of the things that we get to understand is that the only reason that Mick is working with Misery's dad is because of something that he thought happened to his son, but like that whole thing was orchestrated by Misery's dad anyway, and it doesn't make sense that he would be like genuinely trying to work against Lo, but that's how it's presented. And so like the motivation for Mick, and honestly some of the other werewolves that are like working for Misery's dad, didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's where it lost me too. I didn't understand why there were so many werewolves in this plot.
Yeah. Like there doesn't you could have just paid Mick to bring you Misery, and then the other guards could have been human, you know?
Yeah, or vampire.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, this speech is interrupted because Lo comes in. He's being let in by Owen, and he's also in handcuffs, which seems like, how did we get here?
Right.
But this is where it feels like Owen is in on the plan with his dad and like betrayed both of them. And maybe that also happened, and it's like it's a double betrayal, because at some point he just lets Lo go into the fray too.
This is where I read it too fast and I was like, I'm sorry. What side is Owen on?
Yeah, because he's like Owen and Misery's dad is very much like, "Ah, yes, thank you for doing this thing." But like we learned later that like Owen and Lo were in on this plan together. So like that didn't make a whole lot of sense. But
no.
So now that Lo has entered the chat, Misery's father uses this as an opportunity to try to get his hands on Anna once again. He threatens Misery's life so that Lo will choose his mate over Anna. But this is where kind of things go crazy pretty quickly because Lo doesn't want to make a decision. But Serena is just kind of over in the corner. She's being held by a different vampire. But she is apparently... she's been using the last couple of months that she's been in prison to like practice her werewolf abilities. And remember, at this point, we don't know if she or Anna can shift, but she mouths the words "I can shift" to Misery, and Misery like signals to Lo that something's gonna happen, and then all hell breaks loose, right? Like Owen lets Lo go, Serena shifts into a werewolf. Misery gets away from her father. Owen starts fighting his father. Werewolves like shift from other places and start fighting vampires, and vampires are fighting werewolves. Like it's chaos out here, Tom.
It's chaos and it's over so fast. Like she cues Lo in and then they both shift and then the walls are covered in blood and then it's like 4 hours later.
Yeah. It's like 4 hours later. It's like 4 hours later and like we see so much of the aftermath cleanup that I wish we didn't.
Oh, we see so much of it. I did like the way it was revealed that I like this back-to-back that not only is Serena a werewolf, but she can shift. And I liked the way that Misery reveals that to Lo without being like, she can shift. Like, it's pretty stealthy. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I liked that too. I also, one of the things about the aftermath cleanup that I really liked was that we get information. We don't see this happening, but we get information that Serena's having trouble shifting back into her human form because she just doesn't know how to do that yet. And so she's with one of the other like female werewolves and she's trying to like talk Serena through like how to get from one form to the other.
Yeah, 'cause she's not super fluent on it yet.
Yeah.
I liked that.
We also get confirmation in this wrap up that some of the vampires in the room were on Owen's side, and that's why they were easily able to like overpower their father and like some of the loyalists. And going back to the conversation that they had in the field with Gabby, Owen's been planning this for a while now, and this was the coup that he was trying to put together.
It just all happened to work out.
Yeah. So Owen takes Misery to see their father, and Lo is there too. And this is essentially when we get like the closure scene because Misery and Owen essentially tell their dad like, you suck. And Owen in particular is like, I'm going to take your spot. I'm going to undo every single thing that you've done. Like, I'm going to broker real alliances. I'm going to dismantle like all of your bullshit. I'm going to scatter your ashes at all of the borders. And, like, no one's going to remember your name. Or if they do, they're going to remember what an asshole you were.
Nice.
When Owen finishes his speech, he asks Misery if she has anything else to add. And she gives her father a long look and realizes that it's just not worth her time. And so she says, nah, I'm good. And just walks out of the room.
She's just like, nah, bye.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated.
I appreciated that too, because I think it's like she's been controlled by him for her entire life. I just think that it's beautiful that she got to make that choice.
Exactly.
So later that night, or I guess it's the early morning because they're technically nocturnal, Misery goes to sleep in her childhood bedroom because remember they're in the vampire nest situation. And she wakes up at some point and Serena is next to her. They have like a real conversation, not like a, hey, we should get out of here conversation. Hey, our lives are in danger conversation, but like a conversation about why Serena kept everything a secret, the fight that they had when she disappeared, and about the fear that like not just Misery had when Serena left, but that Serena had figuring out all of the stuff about herself because she was essentially doing it alone.
Yeah.
This is when we get confirmation that when she would disappear for a couple of days at a time every month, that was when she was feeling the were side of her come out. It was in Congress with the full moon and the moon cycles. And Misery eventually asks her, like, why didn't you confide in me? And Serena's like, I didn't know what to tell you, right? Like, I wasn't even sure for a long time what was happening. And then when I did know what it was, I was afraid to say it, which is why they got into that fight. Serena was feeling cornered. She was feeling like she had to tell Misery and she wasn't ready to. And that's why she stormed off.
I appreciated that because I'd be pretty mad if you were a werewolf and you didn't tell me. But I felt like that was a valid reason.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, she essentially is saying, like, I just wasn't ready. Like, it's not that I wasn't going to tell you. I just wasn't ready to.
Like, I didn't even know what to say because I didn't even know if that's what really was happening.
Yeah, exactly. In the following days, there's, like, business happening, right? And Misery doesn't see much of Lo at all. Remember, they're still operating from the last time they really talked to each other was right after they had sex, and he told her that, like, she's got it wrong, like, they're not in love and they're not mates.
And he hates her. He never says that, but listen.
I mean, effectively. And, like,
He's
I just
mean.
like, can y'all just have a fucking conversation? Like, Lo, you can't take 5 minutes out of your busy fucking schedule,
Right? To talk about this? Especially because this girl doesn't even know where she is allowed to be anymore.
Yeah, like, she doesn't want to stay in the nest. Like, Owen legitimately asks her, like, hey, do you want Dad's spot? Like, I don't have to have it. Like, you could be a symbol for vampires. And she's like, no, girl, I don't like you guys.
Like,
So,
I don't want to be anywhere near any of you.
yeah, but then also, like, Lo just, like, leaves the nest or, like, the vampire headquarters.
He just
And
like
so
goes
she's like,
home.
I guess I'm gonna go back to the house that I was living in for the last couple of months with Lo and, like, see what's up there.
Yeah. Am I allowed to
It's
live
really
there?
kind of a sad internal monologue because she's, like you said, like, she doesn't know where she belongs anymore. She doesn't even know where she's allowed to be.
Yeah, it's really sad. And I feel like I really didn't like Lo for a while in here. Because he leaves without even, like, telling
Yeah.
her he's leaving.
Right, exactly. He just poofs, goes away.
You're like, I guess we broke up. Even though we're married.
Even though we're married, I mean, I guess you should serve me with divorce papers at least. Like, come on.
Just have a conversation at the very least.
Yeah. So she gets back to the house and she goes to her room and she finds that, like, all of her shit is packed up in boxes. And she's like, cool. So I am getting kicked out. This is awesome. I love this.
I love this for me.
But she goes to find Lo, and when she finds him, he explains that he's not kicking her out. He's having the windows treated with UV glass so that they don't have to have the windows boarded up during the daytime, much like the skyscraper where the vampires live in the city. He was packing up her things because he wanted to protect her belongings.
Oh, I
So
did
she's
think
like,
that was
okay.
cute.
I thought it was cute too, but I was like, can you just, like, say that before?
Because, like, you left this girl thinking that she doesn't even have a home to go home to. Were you just waiting for her to
know,
show
and I'm
up?
just like,
It's weird.
it's very weird. I was like, okay. I know it's for the plot, it's for the angst, but I was like,
It's for the angst. But also, this is happening in, like, the last chapter of the book. So it's for the angst, but I also wanted it to get figured out.
yeah, I wanted it to get figured out. So one thing that I really liked about this conversation is that Misery isn't, like, asking for permission anymore. She's like, she confronts Lo and she's like, look, I'm in love with you and I'm staying, and, like, I'm gonna be in Anna's life, and, like, you can stop being an idiot about it, please.
Yeah, like, take it or leave it.
Right. And then Lo, after about a book's worth of trying to, like, deny this and, like, do it the wrong way, he's like, okay, yeah, you're right, you're my mate, let's be in love.
Stupid. I just feel like we didn't have to have quite so much angst.
Right. And, like, this is where he says that the things that he said in the apartment were to protect her from, like, the weight of being his mate, and, like, he didn't want her to feel like she owed him anything. And I'm like, okay, that there's a different way to do this, guys. I promise.
You could acknowledge, you could just say that, right? Like, yep, you're my mate, but like I can live without you. Like, you don't have to be part of this. Like you could just say that. You could just say the truth.
Yeah, you
don't have to pull out her deepest insecurities.
I know, right? You didn't have to go so deep, like
Jesus
so
Christ.
low. They make up, and we do get some really nice, like, we're basking in the glory of our love sex scenes, which is really great, especially because we get a revisiting of the nodding.
Yes.
And despite the fact that they use the word inflate, they were great scenes, I gotta say.
They were really great, and I was so glad we got it. Because we get the like angst of he's so afraid he's gonna hurt her, but he doesn't, and she thinks it's really rad, and that they're meant to be together.
Yeah, it's just great. And like we always say that we feel like books, like they finally say like, look, I love you, and then like that's where it ends. But this one made good on its promise of like, yes, we're together now, and this is what our life is going to be like.
Exactly. And I'm so glad we got to see that. And it's pretty long too. A point on the nodding, it doesn't go away for like 30 minutes. Like they're just together for a while.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that sounds great in a romance novel, but I think in real life I would be like, okay, I got things to do.
I know. Well, and this is where we get the, like, now they've officially mated, so now he can't let her bathe or anything. And she's like, no, I'm gonna shower. Like, you can come, but I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes so long that she's like, we're gonna have to schedule having sex. And he's like, all right, 2 hours every day.
So then we get an epilogue, and this is from Lo's point of view. And we're basically just seeing like a bunch of domestic bliss. Sparkles, the cat, is still there. Ada's happy and healthy. Serena is also there, and she's really getting to like explore her were side and like spend some time with the pack. And it turns out that she's going to actually stay there with them so that she and Misery are going to be able to retain their friendship while she explores that side of her. Interestingly, though, Cohen arrives. Remember the Pacific Northwest pack leader? He takes one look or whiff or whatever of Serena, and they're mates, which I think is the setup for book 2.
It is. And so I feel like we kind of misquoted the start of this, is that it's a series, but the books, like, I don't think they directly follow each other. I think the next book just follows Serena. So, like, you could maybe read them out of order.
Yeah,
which is
I think
nice,
that's right. And I would be so into that.
Okay, good. Yeah, I want to read it.
I want to read it, but I think like with the Viciously Yours series, like if they follow completely different people, like that's not a series to me.
No, I wouldn't put it as a sequel. I would put it as a main, which is nice because it's essentially a standalone, and we could use more of those.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the book ends. So let's get into our ratings. All right, so how did we rate The Spice?
We both gave The Spice a 4. The Spice is really good. I mean, from the start, they have such heavy like tension that's really satisfying. It takes a while to get to the actual like sex scenes, but all of the buildup is really nice, and then the payoff is really satisfying. But we get the connection that we like. We get the communication that we like. We get some fun things like nodding that we haven't read before. Even though it wasn't what I expected. It was great. It was great. The only reason why it's not a 5 for me is that like I can always use more. And except for the nodding, which is honestly pretty benign, it's pretty vanilla.
Yeah, it's pretty vanilla, and we don't even get like that much variation within the vanilla. Like, because most vanilla books that we get will have like some good penetrative scenes, but then we'll also have like some good foreplay and like oral scenes, and we don't get like we get like basically no oral, and we get like maybe 1 or 2 like teasing scenes.
Yeah. And okay, we didn't say this before, but in real life it's fine, so I'm not saying this to like knock any humans, but every time they get it on, Lo comes like immediately. Like he can't handle it every single time.
I know.
He even says it. He's like, I'm going to come right away. And I'm like, okay, but this is a fantasy novel. Like, can you not?
I know. And I think the one line fixer for that is like he's basically a virgin. Like we get the impression that either he's never had sex with somebody or it's been like very few times. So like that makes sense, but I'm with you. It's like, okay.
I don't need you to say, I don't need you to bring attention to it though.
Right. Yeah.
Because even I think Misery even a couple times is like, no.
Right. Or at least make it feel like he's not gonna, like it's not immediate based on like the, you know, the pacing of it. Like just, yeah.
Yeah. So that knocked it down a bit for me. Right. I'm like, okay.
So that brings us to writing style, which we also gave before. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. It was, you know, very accessible, like well written, well structured. When we got a point of view shift, it was clear who was talking. For the most part, the characters were pretty consistent, except for that one thing that we called out that one time. There weren't any like typos or like egregious editing errors like that. You know, I think the only thing that's not making it a 5 is like I don't feel evangelical about the writing.
That's how I feel. Like there aren't any stunning quotes or anything. It's not particularly lyrical. It's just
right, exactly.
It was easy to read. It was nice. It was fine.
Yeah, it was just a well-written book.
Yeah.
Which brings us to quality of the storytelling. How did we rate that?
We also gave it a 4 because there's a theme. It makes sense. There aren't any plot holes. I think the only reason it's not a 5 for me is kind of the wrap up gets a little Scooby-Doo and confusing. We didn't mention in our coverage because it's kind of a nothing burger, but like there's kind of two things happening. There's figuring out Anna's parentage, then there's finding Serena, and then there's also the loyalists with Emery. Is that her name?
Yeah,
that sounded
Emery.
wrong. Okay. Which at the end there's a one-line fixture of like, oh, Emery is actually a problem. She like bombed a school or something, and we just drive right by that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
And they're like, oh, because we bombed, like she bombed a school and we planted that evidence with like we arrested her or whatever.
And it's like not a problem anymore. And all of the things that happened at the end I felt were a little too quick. I also docked it a little bit because of the unnecessary angst between Lo and Misery. I get it, but it didn't need to be. I didn't like how it was delivered, and it kind of took me out of the fantasy.
Yeah.
Because he's so mean, and like they don't even talk about that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one too.
But it's great.
But it's great. I mean, so do we recommend this book?
Yeah,
yes, we do.
and we'll read the next one.
Yeah, I'm here for the next one. So yeah, we did it. Those are our thoughts on Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Thank you, as always, for joining us on this journey. Let us know what you thought on the socials. You can find us on TikTok, Goodreads, and Patreon. And hey, speaking of Patreon, if you like our content and want more, consider becoming a patron. We release Patreon-exclusive episodes on our off weeks. And if you really, really like us, drop us a review wherever you listen. Until next time, bye.
Bye.